Hi, this is Melissa with the Green Festival. We're here at the Washington, D.C. Green Festival with Bill McKibben, author of Deep Economy and founder of the Step It Up campaign. Hi, Bill.
Melissa, it's good to be with you.
Good to see you. So tell me about building the climate movement. That's what you'll be talking about today. Where do you see the movement now, and where do you see that it needs to be?
We need a movement as big, as morally urgent, as willing to sacrifice as the civil rights movement was a generation ago. We've started to build it. In the last year, we've seen real change. We organized 1,400 demonstrations around the country last spring. We're doing another set of demonstrations and rallies this fall. It's beginning to acquire a real momentum of its own. The sort of umbrella group now for climate activists around the country is an emerging coalition called One Sky. It has a very good website and is doing a lot of good organizing. Look, we're up against heavy odds. ExxonMobil made $40 billion last year. That's more money than any company's ever made in a given year. Even if we pooled all the money we had, we'd come up somewhat short of $40 billion, on the right side of this question. So we've got to do it in different ways, and a lot of that's being out in the street.
And how do you move from either people's feelings of being overwhelmed or frustrated or just apathetic to that passion and urgency that you want to see?
I think it's much more the overwhelmed than the apathetic. Most Americans now understand that global warming is the serious problem of our time. But how do you take action against it? It's so huge. Where do you start? That's why our sort of unofficial slogan has been, screw in the new light bulb and then screw in the new congressman right after that. That's what we've been trying to provide opportunities at stepitup07.org is for people to have politically effective, linked together, local, political passion about this issue and have it mean something.
Back to Step It Up, how did you come to that idea and get it started, and now where are you going?
We organized a march across the state of Vermont the summer before last, and it was enormously successful. It converted even our conservative Republican candidates for office into global warming activists. But the depressing part was that in the newspaper the next day it said, look, this 5-day march may have been the largest demonstration about climate change that's yet taken place in the country. So we decided to see what we could do on a national scale. We meant me and 6 college kids, 6 22-year-olds. No money and no sort of organization. But the web allows a certain kind of organizing that wasn't possible before. We didn't want to do email petitions and virtual everything, but we figured out how to use the web to organize local stuff and then how to link that stuff back up together over the web once it was done. In 10 weeks, we organized those 1,400 demonstrations. Now we're doing another round this fall that focuses very much on political candidates and political office holders and trying to convert them into real leaders on this question. And after that, we need to figure out how to make this grassroots movement international too. And it's hard sledding. We'll see.
Well, at Green Festival, we talk a lot about the green economy, and obviously you've written a lot about the economy.
Yeah.
But something interesting about your approach is that you talk about how economic growth, per se, isn't necessarily the best goal for our country or for just our personal well-being. Can you explain that a little bit?
Our economy's asked one question for a very long time: how can we make it bigger? That's our default assumption. We're past the point where that's a wise goal. In sheer volume, our economy is so large that it's now overwhelming the earth. And if you think we're doing it, wait until people in China and India are sort of living middle-class American lives. Plan A is not an option. The good news is that we're also coming to realize that past a certain point, that economic growth doesn't produce human satisfaction either. And as a result, there are real possibilities for thinking differently. Deep Economy, my most recent book, was all about the transition to a more localized economy, the creation of those sort of economic institutions that will bring people back in touch. That's what we're missing now, or connection and community. That's what the data demonstrate. That's why Americans aren't as happy with their lives as they were 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 years ago. It's been a steady downward decline. Until we're able to resurrect some of that community, then we have very little chance of getting it all right, it seems to me.
And Green Festival, in a lot of ways, focuses on bringing a community
Yes.
together. This is your second time here.
Yes.
What brings you back to Green Festivals?
Well, sometimes people say, oh, something like this one's preaching to the choir. But in fact, the choir, we need to have the choir singing louder. We need people who know what the issues are to be very, very active and activist. And in fact, there are enough people around understand and care about these issues that if they took real action, it would suffice to change the political equation in our country. So that's why I come to these sort of things, to organize.
And if you had some, maybe some tips, like 3 easy action steps for someone to take, what would those be?
Number 1 would be organize. Number 2 would be organize. So would number 3. If you have some energy left after that, then go fix the light bulbs in your house, But to get the change we need on the scale we need and the time we need, it's going to go through Washington. It's going to involve political activity. That's not as much fun as, eating organic breakfast cereal or, sticking in the new shower head or all the stuff that's perfectly good and important to do. But if you ask for priorities, that's where I start.
So action it is.
Action it is.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to hearing you speak today.
All right.
Great to have you at the Green
Good.
Festival.
Excellent.
And if you're interested in taking more steps to halt global warming, check out the Step It Up campaign at Step It Up 07.
StepItUp07.org.
StepItUp07.org. Thanks a lot.